I'm making this vlog to answer an email that Ted on Wellington sent to me through the Glenn Friends listserv, and it goes like this. Thank you for your effort and detailed reporting on the affairs of civics and spectator sports. This tale has a list of characters and a plot to rival a Russian novel. What I did gather from the piece is that if a Raiders stadium in Oakland was really something that would provide a guaranteed benefit, the city officials will be making a good faith effort to make it happen. It seems pretty clear that if this deal were meant to be, it would be done already. The paralysis of both parties is evident that neither party can prove that the rewards exceed the risks inherent in an Oakland Stadium project. We should make good use of this paralysis by using the current facility at least until the last deal is paid off. Finally, could you explain why we are considering a new stadium when the Coliseum complex is in far better physical condition than our streets, sewers, schools, and parks? Actually, that's not too true. First of all, thank you for the question, Ted, but the idea that the Coliseum is in better condition than our streets, roads, sewers, schools, and parks is simply not the case. It's actually in the same deteriorating condition. The Coliseum was upgraded in different stages. First of all, the oldest part of the Coliseum is the west side of the stadium, which goes back to 1966, as well as the berm that is between the Oracle Arena and the stadium. The east side was rebuilt, actually I should say newly built, not rebuilt, for the return of the Raiders in 1995, and the bond issue kicked in 1996. So under the plan that Mark Davis asked me to submit, and some are going to say this is self-serving, but look, I don't care. Mark Davis asked me to submit a plan. I did. I'm very proud of it. It retains the east side but upgrades it. It tears down the west side and rebuilds it, and we have one unified stadium design, which we don't have right now. Now, regarding your statement that if a Raiders stadium in Oakland was really something that would provide a guaranteed benefit, the city officials will be making a good faith effort to make it happen, that's not true. And I encourage you to really read what I wrote, because the message of that is that we've had a number of projects, regardless of whether it's sports or a shopping center, where city officials simply were afraid to do the project because they were afraid to, in the case of the Rouse Company project that Michael D. Spear headed up prior to his tragic death in 1991 in a helicopter crash. In that case, the subsidy ballooned. The city didn't want to invest in the idea of that shopping center of 2 million square feet, which would have closed an enormous retail hole that exists to this day in the city of Oakland and allows people to pass through Oakland on BART or in cars and not stop to shop at all, which has cost us billions of potential dollars over the years. Billions, okay? But we didn't want to spend $298 million to get our billions. And it would have been a great investment, a fantastic one. We were afraid to do it. We were afraid to do it. And we were afraid to do it because one person, Michael D. Spear, who was the champion, died. In every case in Oakland, when you look at a project, Bob Nahas for the original Coliseum, Phil Tagami with the Rotunda and the Fox Theater, David Alexander for the failed shopping center, and Michael D. Spear for the original failed shopping center, there's always a champion, but no task force. Where we've had a task force in the rare moments in the city of Oakland, the task force has worked. For example, again, using me as an example, when I was economic advisor to Oakland Mayor Lou Harris, we had a huge problem. 14th and Broadway was moribund, poorly designed, not proper for the handling of the kind of bus transit systems that AC Transit wanted to run through there, with different routes and different buses stopping in different places and you being able to switch from one bus to the other. Alex Greenwood represented the city and was trying to deal with a number of groups that had to talk to each other in order for this to come together. People from the county of Alameda, the city of Oakland, the Building Owners and Managers Association, the Economic Development Representative for the Chamber of Commerce of the City of Oakland. None of them were talking to each other. So I formed, in order to straighten out the problem, the Oakland Downtown Coalition. In fact, if you Google that, you can find it mentioned in a number of places. But the Oakland Downtown Coalition met every month. We had a work plan. We started with 15 people. We grew to 46 people. And I sat down. I had a catered dinner provided by Max's across the street, along with wine. And that mix of the right people at the table to solve the problem, food and wine, and we met. Our meetings only scheduled for an hour, but sometimes they last until 3. We got the problem solved. We got so much attention that Bunachina of the BOSS, which is a kind of an activist group, wanted to come to the meeting, but she didn't state what her reason were. I said, you're happy to come, but she wanted to bring a whole large group, and I said, it's not that kind of meeting. So she brought a huge group of paid homeless people to come out to City Hall, and they called my name, and so 3 members of the Oakland Police Department came into our meeting and said, and we were very close to having the deal done, but said, is Zinni Abraham here? And I said, yeah. So I stepped outside, and they were chanting, hey, hey, ho, ho, Zinni Abraham has got to go. Which means I was actually quite effective. So I'm standing there. They have no idea what I look like, primarily because they expected me to be white. Because people have that mentality even to this day. This was 1997. People have that mentality to this day that, if you're trying to do something you're doing, you've got to be white. And the president being black has changed some of that, but you still have people who have that mentality to this day. Well, in 97, that mentality was rampant. And in this case, that was the case. So you know what I did? I stood up on one of the platforms at City Hall that hold this light standard there, and I chanted, hey, hey, ho, ho, Zinni Abraham has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Zinni Abraham has got to go. And then after about 5 minutes of this nonsense, I jumped off of that rather high into the air, down onto the pavement. I said, hey, everyone, I'm Zinni Abraham. Shock. So Alex and I brought the group into City Hall, and because of their, black racist attitudes towards someone else black that they discover is, has some authority and they're angrier, I sort of set the table for Alex to take it over because they were actually listening to him. This mentality is a little weird, But the bottom line is, all of that aside, we got the deal done. It was a task force that worked. And we got it done because we had all the people at the table. We had some members from the Oakland City Council. We had council designates. It was a real success story. We got the deal done. And that's my issue with how the Coliseum is handled. There's no task force. There's no one group that you can point to, unlike San Diego, which has a task force and is moving their stadium plan forward, or St. Louis. This is not a case of a Raiders deal not being good for the city. No, it is. We can structure one that's good for the city. It's not that it's there and it's not structured. There's one version that Floyd Gephardt has, which was based on an RFP that was let from an idea that Larry Reed had that he, frankly speaking, by one of his staff members, and they admit what I've said for years, they stole it from the late Frank Dobson, an Oakland architect, who came up with the Coliseum City concept. And Steve Lowe will tell you that's the case. I know I'm going through a lot of detail, but this is our city. If you want to understand our city, listen. And divorce yourself from your own thinking about sports facilities and all of that stuff, because a lot of it's not true. You have a lot of people with agendas, the people that field in streams, but field in schemes, have their own agendas and they don't listen. And Neil's got his issues. You've got Roger Knoll, who always talks about how sports doesn't pay off in terms of stadiums and city economies, but he's got his own agenda, and a lot of times he's wrong, and he's never bested me in a debate, ever. And I've been on the same panel with him, ever, and he never will. It's all a matter of how these deals are structured. And that's why I ask people to stop thinking about their prejudice against sports, which I think is ridiculous, because sports has unified this country racially. And if you don't appreciate that, then I think anyone who doesn't appreciate that is really racist. If you want to get mad at me about that, so be it. But But sports has had a dramatic impact on this society, a unifying in one. Point that I'm making, and also is great for our kids, but the point that I'm making is that it doesn't have to be a sports facility. It could have been a manufacturing plant or a convention center. Our convention center downtown is somewhere, I believe it was created in 1988. Hey, this is 2015. We still have the same old convention center. Meanwhile, everyone has zoomed by us. San Francisco has expanded Moscone Center. San Diego has a great convention center that is expanding. San Jose has one. All of our cities around us have beaten the pants off of us. We've done nothing. Nothing. Our retail offerings downtown have gone down. We don't have a focused effort on it. We don't focus, is what I'm trying to get you and others to realize. We don't focus. There's always some reason. And then we say to the elected officials, we give them the power to handle these problems without insisting they do a task force which could force focus on that problem, that development. And then we give it to them and they say, well, I'm busy working on this or that. Well, so because you're divided in your thinking, you're handling this problem and that problem, guess what? You're not going to have it solved. All of this is the fault of the Oakland electorate. If you want leaders that will do city building, you have to elect them. But you've got to get rid of this prejudice that you guys have regarding sports and facilities and your lack of knowledge of public finance. And I'm just really putting it to you. You guys are part of the problem. It's not just the elected officials. It's all of us. We have to be smarter. We used to have a really intelligent electorate when it came to this. Now, not so much. Not so much. Okay? I know that you all don't like that I put it in your lap, but hey, look, you know what? You just can't say you're in it but not of it. We're all in it and we're all of it. Okay? So Ted on Wellington, thank you for the question. And not only that, I have to explain to you again, go back to what I read about the champions. Here are the champions. Ezra Rapport, big champion who got the Raiders back here. Michael D. Spear, who died, tried to build a shopping center. David Alexander as well. And then you've got other people who have, Glenn Isaacson, who built the city center complex featuring what was called the Bromley building, and now it's called the APL building. Came out here from his time in New York over at the Rockefeller Center. That was during a time when Oakland always blessed outside developers because Oaklanders were so busy arguing among themselves that, oh, if you mention one person here who didn't have development experience, someone else would have something bad to say about them, just because they were jealous that that person could possibly achieve success. So we always gave away the store to outside developers thinking, oh, they'll save us. Kind of like today, you know? And they don't. Classic case was the Rotunda. When I worked for Elihu, Phil became a good friend of mine. Hasn't called lately. I'm mad at Phil. Phil, you haven't been a good friend. But the whole point is that Phil wanted the Rotunda, had worked 10 years to get it. I again worked for the mayor of Oakland, represented the mayor of Oakland on the Economic Development Committee, took a giant stack of studies that were done on the Rotunda to that point in 1997, later 97, and I lifted them up during the morning Community and Economic Development Committee meeting, dropped them and let them, boom, hit right on the table. And I said, this represents all the studies that have been done and $30 million of subsidies we've given the consultants and developers, and we've gotten nothing, and loans, and we've gotten nothing out of them. Give Mr. Tagami a chance. We did. He got a $32 million contract, and the result is this beautiful Rotunda, restored, that used to be the Liberty House Shopping Center store, and it stands as the Oakland Jewel today. That's what happens when you give people who are local the chance to really show their stuff because they care about the city that they're in. We're lacking that. Thanks.